How many people go into a treatment center and then relapse? Apparently it's over 90% at some point. I would imagine the dieting industry, if you want to call it the dieting industry or
It's
whatever
over
the fuck that
90%.
is, it's probably the same shit.
Yeah.
Probably the same statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's the same problem.
Yeah.
Because they haven't fixed their mind.
Right.
They haven't awakened their soul. They haven't come into their being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, breatharian for me, by facing all of my things that I thought were desires, I recognized that the true me needs nothing.
The ultimate recovery from addiction.
You need nothing.
Right. No attachments at all.
Right.
I don't think
Because
anyone's going to argue oxygen being needed.
the breatharian lives on oxygen
Yeah, I know.
and manifests all that it needs from
Yeah.
oxygen. Because the oxygen contains nitrogen and hydrogen, which you can make water and amino acid from.
Can you see how marketing that just for a tap? Remember I said, double down on that if it's working because you don't want to take risks right now. But can you imagine if you had some money just for fun, you try to hit that segment of people? Like, how many of you, have found yourself replacing one addiction with another, and even when you didn't think you were until later, and you've been on this constant journey of recovering from one addiction after another. What if I just took you there now? Are you ready for this? This is for people that have recovered from their core addictions and they just resonated with what I said. Are you tired of trying to fix the next bad habit or addiction? What if there was a pathway to absolutely no attachments where you didn't need anything anymore? No sex, you don't need these things. It's all just a choice. I'm not saying you're not going to be able to do any of those things. You can.
You can do all of them.
Because,
You can do all of them.
because you don't need them.
Right.
Like,
it gives you free choice. That gives you freedom.
Look, even if I don't want to be a breatharian, I would probably still come to you because of who you are. A guy that has compassion for having me go down this journey of letting go of my various addictions, compulsions, and habits, and who's qualified because he somehow got to this place of being addicted to various things himself, and now his addiction is oxygen.
Mm-hmm. Which is the natural addiction of our body.
You see how like that could get it? That would get a different audience than what you're getting now.
Yeah, that's getting into the breatharian market. I would love to. I'd love to have breatharian retreats. I'd love to have retreats in general. That's more coaching than personal training. Right?
Well, I love it from the marketing hat here. I love it because it's unique.
I wanted to introduce you to, as an avenue for my customers to work on their mindset. I wanted to do a collaboration with you in just that I do interviews. I do online interviews. I want my program to be a complete program. I want my program to be a life-changing program. I don't want people to come to me and my program and my service and then, go to another gym. I don't want them to come and then lose the weight and gain it back again. I want this to be the end of their change, that this is where they find their change. And I recognize that some people, don't want to be a breatharian, and some people don't want to drink the urine or drink turpentine, or they don't want to listen to me because I'm kind of the gym guy, which for some people is lower than them,
and completely perfect.
Some people perfect, and some people think too much.
Okay.
But I'll just listen to a little bit of them. But then they will listen to a coach that's male, or a coach that's female. Some people will listen to a man, and some people will listen to a woman. Some people will listen to a man that wears a suit, and some people will listen to a man that wears
his
pajamas. And some people will listen to a woman in her 50s, and some people will listen to a woman that is in her 30s. Right? And so I need to collaborate with other professionals that I respect and admire and I have gathered benefit from. So I acknowledge their skill set. And the way that I do it is I have dialogue time as I put us online. We talk together and we share information online so people can see that we are discussing how the healing happens. And when people see that this is how the healing happens, they see, oh, well, this is a perfect resource. I may connect with John, but actually I don't really like John. But I do like that guy that he was talking to. Some people will like me, some people won't. Some people will like you.
Oh yeah, no, I'm hated and loved. There's not
That's
a middle
it,
ground.
right? Exactly. So by interacting online with people, I am introducing them to my network where people can see, and then I can take that video and I can put it out to all of my customers, and then my customers meet that person online, or I can edit it and put it out to my customers, and they meet that person online, and I can say, hey, listen, would you like to? How are you stuck? Well, would you like to talk about it? I do that all the time, but people don't take me up on it. Why? Because they don't want to talk to me for whatever reason. But hey, you know what? I have a coach or I have another coach. Would you like to speak with them? So we collaborate that way. And maybe you've got the same thing. I never thought that until you said, hey, people can go to Breatharian. I wasn't thinking collaborate, that is in you need to refer people to me, but I was thinking I would be happy from what I gained from our talk that I would be happy to share my customers with you.
And I would like to talk to Samina so it's profitable, because what I've learned through 30 years of entrepreneurship and setting up not-for-profits is that unless you take the time to set it up in a way that's really meaningful, valuable, and profitable, eventually resentment kicks in. And I wouldn't want that. That's exactly why Samina and I don't partner with anyone. We made an oath, but she's open if I'm open, and she'll listen and she'll make her own decision.
So fantastic. Then there's
There's
a small hole.
so, but
potential.
well, maybe bigger based on what's going to happen next in my questioning for you.
Yeah.
So, no, but it's in your space though. So let me take care of that, because I know exactly what that's fucking like. Putting this where your other shit is. Yeah. So what's the purpose of the meeting, as far as you recall?
Well, I recall that speaking with you was inspirational. It was centering. It was focusing, and I grew from it, and I've been growing since it. So
that is a very common result.
I'd like to see that happen again. I'd like to feel that happen again. You're remarkably gifted at pulling someone to think and speak about what the heartbeat of the issue is. And I think I identified an addiction that I didn't realize I had. I knew I had a food addiction, but it came into more clarity for me in our first talk. But more than that, what came into clarity for me was an addiction to thought in general. Just an addiction to thought.
Oh, and don't do that. Picks up the mic. Okay. Yeah. Say more about that.
Since identifying that new addiction, I recognize and understand my subconscious programming better and have been able to separate myself more from my subconscious programming and identify that better.
So what have you identified? What have you noticed? Yeah, so you're noticing when that's that addictive, destructive pattern going on. That's like the opposite of what I want.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed specifically?
I've noticed specific negative chatter that's going on inside of my head, that's going on all the time. That stops me from breathing deeply. That makes me hold my breath. That makes me put my body in a bit of an anxious, incorrect posture and position that creates and holds pain inside of my body. And since I've been more conscious of it, and I've been affirming, more clearly understanding when I'm affirming that I'm speaking to my true self, my spirit body.
And because we're recording, we don't want to say stuff
separating-
that's specific that could, like, in some way be interpreted by your Facebook friends or anyone that you said something negative about anyone, right? We would, because we're recording. So I'm going to ask a question. So what are, when you say these negative thoughts, are they tend to be resentments? And if they are, right, I'm not going to say who they're about because I don't want to edit it out. But how would you try to tell me as much as you can?
It's mostly self-induced negative thought, like
Stuff about
self-worth.
Okay,
Self-worth
that
issue.
Beautiful. So what are the thoughts
Self-worth
what
issues.
are the thoughts that you say to yourself?
That I am not enough. I'm not good enough. I don't have enough. I don't have this yet, so I can't. I don't have enough of this yet, so I can't. I haven't accomplished this yet, so I can't. So I'm not ready yet, or, oh, because that's going on around me, I'm not very good, or because that's happening to me, I'm not very good. I'm not good. I'm not good enough. And then also, because of that negative voice that I'm hearing, I'm seeing that makes me reach out in order to grab food to comfort myself, or not be so nice with my wife because I'm trying to blame someone else, or judging my kids and they're not good enough because I'm not feeling good enough. So it's creating problems in my relationships. It's creating physical pain manifesting within my body. It's changing the way I breathe. And so it's making my body more acidic. It's affecting me physically. It's affecting me emotionally. It's affecting me psychologically. It's affecting me spiritually. And healing is all of these things. My body is not healing. My body is not well. My body's not at its best. Therefore, I'm not at my best because of this incorrect paradigm, this subconscious programming, this overthinking that's going on.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Clear. So you're a human being, just like all of us.
Yeah.
And you thought if you were like the best at physical stuff, that would heal and cure the physical stuff.
Yeah, the exercise was a massive.
But you can't say there's more to do there. You know what I mean?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, how far do you go? We're drinking our urine. We're doing turpentine. Yes. We're not eating for so many days. Like, wow, you are the pillar of having the physical
trying to find the answer.
Woo!
Trying to find the answer.
Beautiful.
Trying to find the answer, right? But the answer is me. The answer is inside me. That there is an unlimited, infinite space within me. And when you step into the unlimited, infinite space within you, you can do unlimited, infinite things. There's no boundaries to you when you are inside of that space. But the subconscious programming blocks you from that space. The trauma that you had in your past creates a subconscious program of thought that protects you and suppresses you, holds your emotion down low, holds your sadness and sorrow inside of your digestive system, in your kidneys, in your liver, in your physical body, in your muscles, in tightness. You've got physical trapped energy trapped down low.
Talk like this, because this is what people want to hear. Because this is probably the most attractive you're ever going to be to your audience. I. Just say that, because the truth is you're talking about you. So we don't want the audience confused. Like, you're a guy I can relate to. Yeah, here's a guy right here, no degrees, not qualified to do shit, and I get paid a lot of money to help people with addiction issues, like a lot, right? And it's because, like, even when I talk to the kids, if you see, we used to do that, I should say, here I am, the addiction guy, doing my keynote for 3,000 kids or whatever, and I'll say, hey, I may be the addiction guy, but clearly there's something going on here. They're like, I'm overweight, and I show them my belly. Like, don't look at me as a guy that's freaking the expert. I'm a guy that has beat crack, alcohol, cigarettes, and numerous other things, porn, sex, violence. I used to, beat women up. I've certainly made some progress, but no, look, let's look at it. Maybe this is addiction, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just not committed to doing anything about it. I don't know. But that's what would have, the criminal kids, the at-risk kids. I, got called in to do, First Nation schools where the suicide levels are the highest in Canada, to go into alternative schools where the kids in that school, in order to come to that school, you have to actually be charged with criminal crimes. Your parents are all cracked. Most of them are drug addicts. And these kids love me, and same with the adults, because I'm not doing just the subtle thing in the way you spoke. You got this, you got that, you got that. You know what? No, I got this, I got that. I'm just like you. I'm a criminal too. I'm this too.
Talking about me.
Yeah. So when you're talking right now, because of the fact I know right now you are talking about you, and we just happen to be on camera, then don't say you, say me. You've just, because what you look like is this guy who is a machine. I can't relate to you, you got your physical fit shit so down. I don't see in any way that I could never do the disciplines that you have. So you're losing a lot of clients because they just can't relate. And there are a lot that like that. But what they all love is when you point out your vulnerabilities, when you point out, like, this is the most attractive marketing you could do because you look too perfect out there, right? If you add this human side that, hey, I'm still dealing with my shit, and, you mentioned the word partnership. I can't say, or collaboration with me or whatever. I can't commit to anything like that. But, right now, I have to talk to Samina about that. But definitely, you've got this guy who is the other issue guy. I help solopreneurs and entrepreneurs in two ways. First way is we deal with your other issues. And then the other thing I do is I help people with creative marketing. But after we've got those other issues that are fucking with you, and when we know what they are, and we're dealing with it, now you can be present, right? Now you can be present and work on your marketing. So, anyway, I love it when you talk about you, right? Now I realize I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to, I don't have to be like him. In fact, now that he's telling me how fucked up he is, that's a guy I can relate to. Right? I've had 2 interventions where $55,000 for like 2 months of my time. Right? And I try to get them to go everywhere else first. And they come to the guy who has to say, so I just want to be clear, I'm not qualified to do this. You're hiring me as a coach. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not an addiction. Do you understand? Like, I'm not, you think I'm an addiction, but I'm not. Yes, we know. We'll sign the papers. Right? I'm totally not qualified to do any of the shit that I do. Speaking over 200 schools, almost 1,000 presentations to kids all over Canada and the US. I don't have a degree. I'm like a liability. Like, there's huge risks. Like, but the kids love me, and I beat out Gabor Mate on one presentation. I found out. I was trying to say, you got Gabor Mate. It's between Gabor Mate, the addiction expert in the world, and me. We'll go with Gabor. I met him. He's the man. No, Scott, we want to go with you because we've heard you've got a reputation here in Saskatchewan on kids' lives changing. So I'm not a doctor. But you know what I am? I'll tell you why you shouldn't get into business with me. I'll tell you what's fucked up with me. And for some reason, it wasn't a strategy. People love it. They want to know that I don't got my shit together. I'm just maybe one step ahead of you. I want to relate. I want you to know that I'm no different. I'm just like you. I'm not a guru. So how is that helpful for you?
That's very helpful. because I think I have been speaking with sometimes me, but sometimes you. You know, I'm speaking a bit of both because I'm
Of
not
course.
sure of what's the way to do that. So I'm kind of not unsure.
And it's appropriate to do both. But because right now you are telling me about your issues and we're being recorded, oh, there's an opportunity here, bro. Don't let the maybe someone tunes in on this and they didn't hear the 5 minutes prior, right? That was like he's actually talking about himself. He's not giving advice. He's not coaching. People hear you doing what you were doing, they tune out. Oh, here's another coach giving me advice. They tune out. But when they hear I'm this, I'm that, they're engaged.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So don't like I'm not saying you have to. You are a coach. You have to give advice. But here's a moment where you're seeing some authenticity about yourself.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
What else do you want to say? Thanks.
Uh,
Go back to where we were using like the language of I. So what I've noticed is
what I've noticed,
my subconscious mind, mine.
my subconscious mind, developed thoughts and words that were protecting the true me because of traumatic events that happened in my life. My mother died when I was 18. My dad made me move out very shortly after. I was alone, right? I felt like I had lost my mother and my father. I had lost my love. I had lost my security. I had lost my safety. I had some negative traumatic relationships where, girls that I loved left me because they found another guy, a richer guy, a bigger guy. Their parents didn't like that I was a black guy, so there was like some like deep traumatic pain about culture, myself as a black man not accepting myself, fear of loss from mom, fear of loss from dad, fear of safety, fear of loss from relationships, not good enough, not liked, not loved, not good enough, I'm not good enough. And so I learned
To
to
compensate.
protect myself, suppress those true me, suppress my love because I don't want to be hurt like that again. I started holding myself back and then now entering and engaging in circumstances in my life again and again and again with my energy and my love and my true authentic self suppressed. So I was repeating and recreating trauma after trauma after trauma and reproducing these same problems and issues and circumstances in my life again and again and again because I wasn't living from my true power. I hadn't engaged all of myself because I was afraid that if I let myself out that I would be hurt. And by holding myself back and holding my power back, I was recreating the same circumstances and events in my life, but each time I was able to kind of walk through it without pain. Right? That's because I was protected. My energies, my true self, my authentic self was held down, and those emotions were held in my kidneys and my liver and my digestive organs, and the tightness I had in my hips and my shallow breathing and the pain that I felt in my body. And it was all of that was growing, and my body was becoming more toxic and more inflamed and more painful. I was sleeping less, and I was having problems in my relationships, and I was being less loving and less playful, and the real me was being more and more and more suppressed. And identifying my true self and recognizing the difference between my subconscious programming and my true self has helped me to be able to step into who I really am and hear that chatter of my subconscious mind and go, oh, there it is again.
So this started happening, what you're talking about now, stepping in, like as a result
This
of
has
our set.
been
It's been going anyway.
happening, but this has jumped up since we spoke. It jumped up. I mean, this jumps up every week for me because I'm constantly working on self-awareness. I'm constantly unfooding facing my food addiction, which helps me to see my true self. But specifically speaking about it, identified the thought addictions that I had, because I recognized I had a food addiction. But the thought addiction, I knew there was something wrong. I knew I was in my mind a lot. You asked me last time, what would your wife say about you? I said, I think she'd say I think too much, or I'm in my head a lot. So I was identifying that I was in my head a lot, but I didn't really identify my processing as an addiction. I identified my food as an addiction. I identified my sex as addiction. I identified my drugs as an addiction. I had identified, other aspects of my life that I've had addictive personalities in, which I've faced in my life. But I hadn't identified my thought as also one of my addictions so clearly until we spoke the first time. That brought tremendous white light clarity on that for me. Speaking about it, discussing it, and then, after like bowling it over and working through that sort of chat that we had, little bits of it, working through it over the last maybe a month now, 3 weeks, a month ago, we spoke. Since then, I've just seen growth, and I've seen that by identifying that. Now I've seen YouTube videos or, information and insight coming in and coming up, and recognizing and realizing and clarifying it in my mind. So you're getting a resolve that happens, right? But our talk was a massive trigger for that. Our first talk was a massive trigger for that. And so I thank you. I've grown from the first time I talked, and I'm eager and excited to sit and talk with you again, because I know that I'm going to grow more by just having an opportunity to express myself, because I just don't get a chance to engage with someone like this, a professional person that can help me to think and speak and talk about what's going on inside of me. And that's so valuable. I'm always the coach, talking, helping, trying to facilitate someone to open up and let go of something that's blocking them. But I don't really get an opportunity to heal myself. I don't get these conversations with anyone else. So infinitely valuable.
You used the word addiction.
Yeah.
And I just want to check in my book, not to promote a book, but one of the things I did is I did a chapter called the meaning of addiction, and I intentionally got all these books from all these experts to show that they don't even agree with each other what the meaning of the word is, let alone what treatment would be for it. So all I want, and then what I say is, ultimately the meaning of addiction is whatever it means to the person. If that's a word they want to use, then I'll be there with them. Like, I'm not attached to the word addiction. I'm not addicted to addiction. But I do want to know if whatever the meaning is for you, if it's serving you. So what I got is, you identified you had a food addiction, and then did it serve you to look at it that way?
Yes.
How so? Let's start with that. How did it serve you?
Well, first of all, I mean, food was a part.
Actually, no, sorry. I back up. What does the word addiction mean to you first? What is the difference between an addiction and a bad habit?
Well, you know what? I don't really think there's a heck of a lot of difference between addiction and a bad habit.
Okay, that's one viewpoint. So let me hear it.
Yeah.
I just want to work with your viewpoint.
Yeah. I think bad habits or behaviors are addictions to a habit or a behavior. I think people are addicted to their personalities. I think people are addicted to their. I'm not afraid of the word addiction. Let's say I think that I think we're all addicted. Whether it's to coffee, whether it's to morning breakfast, our first meal of the day.
So does addicted mean you have a choice or you don't have a choice.
People don't have a choice. We all have a choice with an addiction, but we have to muscle it. We have to muscle that power over our addiction. We all have choice over our addictions. I suppose what you're talking about is like the actual physiological addiction that you get to, say, cocaine, where if you don't put it into your body, or alcohol, if you become an alcoholic to that point, if you don't put the alcohol in, you're getting physiological addiction, but shaking, and you can't continue through your day. However, some people
and that's not what I'm talking about. And this is just a viewpoint I'm going to share that's in this book, page 24.
That's a physiological addiction, but I mean,
no, hear me out. I'm going to quote page 24 in this book right now, because it explains. So in this book, it's the 12-step program, the original one of Alcoholics Anonymous, written in 1939. I've taken hundreds of people through the first 88 pages, which is the 12-step program, like the how to take the actions. Half of those 88 pages approximately are all on step one. For you, it's all about getting that, are you powerless? Are you an addict or whatever? So here's a part that a lot of people, even in AA, have not read. Like, I'm not saying it's the truth either, but it says the fact is most alcoholics, for reasons we don't understand, have lost the power of choice in drinking. So what people think is that means, like, once you drink, you're screwed. That's true for some people, but it goes on to say they lost the power of choice and drink. Their so-called willpower becomes practically non-existent. At certain times, like Russian roulette, not all the time, at certain times they can't bring into their consciousness with sufficient force the memory of the suffering and the humiliation of even a week ago or a month ago. They're without defense against the first drink. So in other words, a lot of people think that's what addiction is, and they get sober for a year, and then they relapse and don't know what happened. I went to treatment once in 1999, and I haven't relapsed. And I think big reason was because when I went there were 50 other people, and I started to learn their stories. Everybody except one guy, who I don't even think was an alcoholic, had been to multiple treatment centers. I'm like, holy shit. Because we just think, go to get treatment, go get detox, get the shit out of your system so there's no craving anymore, and then we're good. And that's what people thought. But what they didn't deal with is this other element. We're without defense against the first drink. Russian roulette. You try to will it, but at some point, bad shit happens in your life. At some point, you're resenting, whatever. And then the book goes on to say that we couldn't survive the certain trials and low spots ahead unless we, our life was now about, helping other alcoholics and addicts recover. And that's step 12. So 1212 brand that I created is, you know what that means? It's the 12th step of the 12 steps. 1212. It's the 12th step of the 12 steps. I don't even do this program hardly at all anymore. I'm the founder of All Addictions Anonymous. It's all over the world. I don't even go to it. But that I keep. Having had a spiritual awakening as the result of whatever your steps were, you tried to carry this message to others and pressing upon them that they too would help others. So that's one viewpoint on addiction, by the way. And your viewpoint would be agreed upon by Dr. Stanton Peele and many other doctors. But I'm saying in my viewpoint, there are certain things that, we don't have a choice. Maybe it's because of our subconscious whatever. Like, you think you have a choice, but maybe today you cannot drink, maybe tomorrow. But at some point, if you're not spiritually fit, you can become victim to a resentment or fear or whatever, and you just go right back into your eating and wonder, how did this happen?
Yeah,
how did this happen?
I think that's the same thing. Like, you can fall back into eating, or you can fall back into breakfast or coffee or alcohol or sex or whatever it is your coping mechanism is. Like, we've got this subconscious programming that when we get the trigger.
When I get the trigger.
Yeah. That when I get the trigger, I want to comfort my trigger. I want to scratch that itch.
Mm-hmm.
With food or sex or drugs or exercise. But exercise would be a positive action.
So do you think it's possible to have a positive addiction?
Well, you can have, yeah, you can be exercising too much.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can have it's a positive thing, but when done too much, it can become a negative thing. Well, an addiction,
Like a
I guess.
workaholic. Hey, I'm working, but I'm
Yeah,
losing my
working can be
family.
good, but
Yeah.
too much work.
And the
can
reason
be-
I say that, because that's another doctor I quoted, Dr. William Glasser, who invented choice theory. He wrote a book called Positive Addictions. And it's actually positive addictions, meaning they're things you want to strive to have. Like I'm developing the positive addiction of going to that gym and doing 2 kilometers. I've got a routine happen. I'm actually feel like I'm back into being addicted to it. Like I don't resist it anymore. I don't, now I'm like, after 2, 3 weeks, it's just like, I'm not having those thoughts that you always have in the beginning where fuck this, fuck, I need some more sleep. It's like, I don't, like, it's gone. It's just, I just wake up and go. No, you know, I think I've turned it into a positive addiction. There's no choice. I'm not thinking. It's just automatic. I would have to really have to will it hard not to go now. So that's just another viewpoint, that you could have a positive addiction that's actually positive.
So addiction doesn't have to be a bad word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like there's some interpretations. I'm
Yeah.
just curious what yours is.
Yeah.
I think you'd shared with me.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so I mean, change the word. Addiction, habit, behavior. Intermix the words.
For you, that would totally work. Why? Because you told me that your definition of addiction is you have control. So it's just a word. That's like actually what I say too. Like it's just a word. What's it mean to you? It's the same as a bad
Some
habit.
people say,
Let's go
I
there.
don't have any addictions.
Right.
Yeah, they get all, whoa, I don't have any addictions. They have a problem with that word,
Yeah.
right?
So what I like about what you're saying is that now I can go, okay, so I can now listen to you as you explain your addiction to thinking, because now I have a context for it, is that you actually do have control over it. I don't need you to see how powerless and fucked you are, and that, you know, you better find God. That doesn't necessarily have to be a pathway for you.
No.
Right? So now I got a point of reference.
No, you've got a choice to continue to live your life that way. I could choose to continue to live my life as I was, but if I continue to live my life as I was, then my life will continue to be as it is, as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to change my life, I got to change my habits, my behaviors, my addictions.
So what have you noticed in the
thoughts.
realm of the thought addictions now that we're calling addictions, that could be habits, whatever, but you've noticed something?
Subconscious programming, habit, addiction, behavior.
What have you noticed with your thoughts that you're now starting to have control over them?
So now I can see where I've got this negative subconscious programming, which is now I'm more self-aware of it. So I can hear it and see it quicker. Because once you get those thoughts going in your head, those thoughts create emotions.
Mm-hmm.
They create certain feelings that we become addicted to. We're used to feeling like this. This is how we always feel on Tuesday night. This is how we always feel on Monday morning. Right? This is how we always feel on Friday after work. It's the normal feeling we get at that time. We're addicted to it. We're in a habit, we're behavior. And when we get to that feeling on Friday, what do I want to do on Friday night when I get to that feeling? I want to eat.
Yeah.
Or some people want to drink. Some people want to go out with their friends. Or some people want to have sex. Or some people want to do drugs or go to the club. Right? We've all got our own habits and addictions. Right? I'm identifying that I can see those thoughts now. And I can see that there is also subconscious programming. That's my thoughts. That's not me.
And you started to notice, oh, there's going.
There it is.
I have
There
a
it
choice.
is. There it is. That's
so you
not
have a
me.
choice when you see
That's
it.
not me.
And then what do you do after you say
That's
that's
the
not me?
personality that I have become addicted to, have become a habit of. This guy that was a bodybuilder for 30 years that needed to eat a dozen eggs in the morning and a dozen eggs at night, needed to eat to build this mass.
And not too loud, but that's good. Keep going, but don't whisper.
That's who I was. That's who I was. That's what I had to do to be that guy. I needed to eat. So I justified my eating. And eating was a good thing. And it didn't matter if I ate more because I needed to be bigger in the gym and lift more weight. So it became like a part of my life. It became a part of me that I needed to eat this food. I justified it. And I thought it was good.
Mm.
And now I recognize that I ate myself into an eating addiction, that now it comes down to, hey, Saturday night's my cheat night. Well, I'm so in the throes of my pizza and ice cream that I'm not focused on the things that I really am most important to me. My relationship to my wife and my kids has gone below my pizza and ice cream. And then when I eat my pizza and ice cream, I'm like, oh boy, I'm full. I'm going to bed. I'm beat. I can't move. And the time that I'm free, because I work all the time that I'm free, I'm thinking about food, eating food, overeating food, falling asleep, losing my energy, not having energy in time, waking up the next day in a fog because I've overeaten the night before, and feeling kind of trashy the next day. So I'm kind of trashy with everyone. So the spillover of my addiction is creating problems in my relationship. So, when I say addiction, the negative aspect to me with an addiction is that whenever you have an addiction, it has a negative response or effect in your life. Your behavior, your habit, your addiction is creating a negative circumstance in your life. Have you got a negative circumstance in your life? I had some negative circumstances in my life. It was showing up in my relationships. It was showing up in my feelings. It was showing up in my traumas. It was showing up in my finances. It was showing up in my physical body, pain. Right? So I've seen changes in my pain, physical body, changes in my sleep, changes in my emotional energy body, myself, the way I think and feel and the things I think and say and do, emotionally, how I respond to my family and my customers more lovingly because I've dealt with an addiction, or I'm dealing with an addiction. I'm gaining power over an addiction. I'm recognizing the subconscious programs. And I'm also more keenly aware of the true self, the infinite being that's within me. Now that I'm more aware of that, I can sense and feel that spirit, spiritual awakening, soul awakening, inner child, love, infinite love that's within all of us, that all of us can reach. Christ consciousness, Holy Spirit, what do you want to call it? God force, energy, collective unconscious, that conscious space within us. I call it consciousness. It's consciousness. That's what we are. We are feeling beings. We're thinking beings. We're conscious beings. And now that I can see my consciousness and I can see my subconscious programming, I can identify these are two different things. And when I live in my subconscious programming, I recreate the same old crapola in my life. And if I want to step into my infinite being, my infinite self needs nothing. It's always connected to source. It powers this vehicle. Food doesn't power this vehicle. This vehicle is powered by an infinite source, an infinite intelligence. It doesn't need food, and it doesn't need water, and it doesn't need anything. It has everything. I am everything that I need. I have that power inside of me. I'm recognizing that. I'm stepping into that power, and I'm directing that power out into my life to create what I want. I'm choosing my life now. I'm putting out, envisioning what I want. Instead of listening to that voice of not enough that was going on in my life before, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough. Instead of listening to that negative thought, which was creating a negative feeling, which was putting negative suppressed emotions on me. Now my emotion is free. The love is coming up. It's rising up into my life. I'm expressing out that love, that white light, infinite love that's within me, that spirit body, that soul awakening, that light energy is coming up and coming out of me. I'm able to express it, able to connect with it.
So what are you doing differently since our first session, or whatever that was a month ago?
I think I'm doing the same things that I was doing. I think when we talked the first time that I had already told you that I had already kind of lit that fire again within me, and I knew how to light that fire with meditation and with early morning walks and with getting out into the sunlight and getting my feet on the ground and getting my exercise and doing my affirmations and thinking and speaking and writing about my goals and unfooding and staying away from the food and facing my addiction and recognizing what it is and staying away from it. And as long as I'm doing those things, then the right part of me, the real true me, is growing up inside of me, and it's becoming who and what I want it to be.
So it seems like everything's going fine. You don't need to be here, so to speak. Like you're on your. Sometimes that happens. People are just one session and they're like opens something for them. Is that the case, or is there something else we can talk about?
No, I feel like I have identified what my issue is and was, and I know the resources and methods and skills and of how to implement what I truly want. I think our meeting, mostly for me, helped me separate what was going on. I could see, I knew about subconscious programming, but there was a little bit of a division. It was coming together. And I think our initial talk, helped me to go like, okay, I got it. I see it. I see my thought addiction. I see that's my subconscious programming. And I was already feeling, I can feel this new energy that's coming up inside of me because I'm fasting and I'm staying away from food, which is my addiction. Because I'm staying away from it, I can starting to see the true self coming up, the true energy coming up, not being suppressed by me. Okay, it's Friday, time to get some food into me. Oh, it's Saturday, time to get some food into me. Oh, it's Sunday, I get to eat. And then Monday, I'm back to work. I fast during the week and then I eat on the weekends. So, hey, my relationship's suffering because I'm eating all weekend. And then I'm empty all week. And then I'm eating all weekend. So like as soon as it comes to the weekend, it's time to eat. I'm focused on food. And I'm not focused on my family.
On the weekends?
On the weekends, because I'm thinking about my food, because I'm allowed to eat now. I've fasted all week, so it's okay to eat now. It's good to eat now. We need to eat now. No, I don't need to eat at all. I don't need to eat. I need to move beyond food. I'm ready to move beyond food. Right? I'm a breatharian.
Wow.
I'm ready to step into what I am all the time.
Wow.
I can live on my breath.
Wow.
Yeah, because everything is provided. That's the promise. Everything is provided to us. Right? I don't need food. I don't need water.
I just happened to, years ago, someone told me about this world, and I did watch some videos on it, and like, whoa. So I'm sitting here in front of one.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had no doubt that it was true. I think it's just really cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Never be my goal, but I have tremendous respect. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I am.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's what you are.
You are a breatharian.
You are a breatharian.
You don't want to take that leap too fast if you're a coach. You don't want to sell an idea that the person just told you they're not into.
We're all breatharians.
see, once again, when you were like, I'm a breatharian, notice how my body language is. Wow. Now I'm open to listening, and then you just killed it.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
That's how
feedback.
I do my when I do my interventions, like family interventions. By the time I'm done, I have to tell them it was an intervention the whole time. I orchestrated so you have no idea what I was doing. When I first met Samina, she was anorexic. My girlfriend was worried. Her hair was falling out every time she was with us. She was like worried. And I said, Cindy, don't ever speak of that again. Don't put any attention on that. No tension at all. If you let her, if you even share that with her, you don't think she's already thinking that, you're going to throw her under a tailspin.
I see.
And so the whole time I was doing things to have her recover from anorexia. And then when it accomplished, months later, I told her that's what had happened when it wasn't at risk of re-triggering it all.
Right. So, because in my excitement, I am, and in my realization, I'm realizing that we all have this ability, and I'm sharing with people that, hey, you can do this. And by sharing that part, I'm turning people off of it.
If you're sharing it in an irresponsible way. Like, I'm not
That's
saying
irresponsible.
if this is your mission and you're going to market that message on Facebook or wherever you're doing it, that's one thing. But now you have a person in front of you. And so you're listening to their values, you're checking in before you say something, you know, because I was open. Now I don't want to hear anything more about breatharian.
Interesting.
But I was fascinated because stories work, right? Let me, and I know this too from the guy who used to think this was the way and the only way. And if you didn't do this 12-step program, you're maybe just in denial and you haven't hit your bottom yet, because that's what I was taught. Then I started working with kids. My first talk with kids, all these at-risk kids wanted to see me again. So I brought my big books in and they loved me. But I realized they did not connect with this message at all. So the kids taught me I had to reinvent a whole new way to help them with what they thought were their addictions. And it couldn't have anything to do with powerless, turning your life over to God, helping others for the right. I had to find something else. But what happens is, I believe, and I don't mean it like I'm God or anything. I'm just saying it empowers me to look back and see that evangelism that I used to have, with the book says not to do it, but we all do it. It's like when I was a Christian, born again, wanting everyone to come to Christ or you're going to die. Like, but then I just turned everyone off. But I don't see it for years later when I look back and like, yeah, I made a huge difference. But what if I wasn't a preacher? What if I listened to understand? What if I came into each session and like actually not being able to rely on what I know? Like, I just got to understand this human being. You know, what if I'm not the addictions expert? What if they don't like that word and then using that word is actually causing a barrier?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like everything I did for Samina,
Yeah,
it's completely
so
unusual.
I need to learn how to speak about my breatharianism as my choice and what I do and what I'm sharing is just talking about me and not so much. I think I'm telling everyone something that's magical because they all can do it because I've recognized the magic in me. So I'm thinking I'm telling them something that you have this magic too. I'm excited to let them know that they can do this
before they understand
but
why
because
would I
I'm doing that, I'm turning people off.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, you're telling me you can do this, and like most people are not like me, by the way. That'll just have a debate about it or speak up. They'll just be polite. Yeah, and then they you know, whatever.
They're turned off.
They're turned off. They don't tell you, you know, because you know, you're very powerful, right? You know, you have to be responsible for your charisma and power. That's being from addictions. What I say is, like, when I'm about to close someone on something, I say, I don't want you to say yes or no right now. Even though you want to say yes, I want you to be able to go to sleep and send me an email where it's safe to say no. I don't want to, because I understand codependency. I see the patterns, and I don't want to take advantage of a person's codependency where they want to people please me. They want to say yes, and they're not saying yes to themselves. They're saying yes to me because of my charisma, because I'm a powerful persuader. I'm a master NLP practitioner. I can hypnotize you into doing something you wouldn't want to do. I have that power, and it's unconscious now. It's like, it's, you know, when you get to mastery, you just know how to influence people, right? And a lot of times you're doing it and you're not even aware you're doing it when you're really good at it, like I am, right? So what I focus on is consultative selling, I guess you could say, you know, which is asking questions, understanding what the person wants. Like with Samin, I created all of these show platforms because I was failing at getting her to ask for money, like just nothing would work. And I'm like, okay, well, I can either like keep training her and forcing her to do something that she does not want to do right now, that's like actually hurting her. Like she's reminded of what a loser she is every time she won't ask for the money. And I just got to bring the people in here. I got to create something that's more valuable than she is. And so I had the studio filled up. First year, over 300 people in 365 days came in here and did an episode of 1111 where you could not talk about anything you wanted to talk about that would serve you. Right? But they all got to meet Samina. Now she charges a minimum of 11 grand for a coaching program. You know, Natalie paid her 22 grand. Mind you, a lot of the stuff, the value she got was from me because it was dealing with things that she wasn't dealing with. It's about, like Covey says, seek first to understand. And being present to the person. That's why I won't do shit on the phone or anything, because I can't be moving you into a direction if I don't know your soul has given me permission to do so. Your body tells me. And so you just went, proposed marriage on the first date with me on this Breatharian thing, and had me think, whoa, this guy doesn't care about me. He cares about his cause. If it wasn't for Christians, there'd be more of us. You ever heard that saying? Samina's father is just such an awesome Christian. He doesn't tell you about it. You just wonder, how did you get to be like this? You just want to be like him. Joy in serving. Ask nothing in return. You know, and it's like, I went to church with him, even though I hate church. Like, you know, I'm a Christian, but I don't go to church. I got my own views on everything. But I had to go because, like, I'm just fascinated with this man. He won't even try to convert his family into Christianity, but he's a devout. It's who he's being that makes me want to follow him. And I went to church, hated it. But the point is, like, that I even went, even though I know how much I hate church, I still had to go, thinking maybe this church is special or something. Maybe there's something going on. No, it's just a shitty fucking church that guilt trips you into their money, just like the ball. But he made me fascinated with what it would mean to be a Breatharian. Why are you a Breatharian? Can you tell me about this? If you can wait until they ask, now you know they're listening. They're not being polite. And that's what I would do if I was you, because where you're at in the being present, like I've been 30 years, headhunter, sales, consultative selling, 30 years, right? So you couldn't tell that I wasn't, you weren't present, that I was not interested in being a Breatharian. Even when I said I will never be one, I was trying to give you a clue. But yes, you could be one, right? You didn't know, you couldn't even tell, like, gauge it when I told you, right? And people won't tell you. You got to be present to what they're saying by what they're not saying, how they don't respond, how their eyes, how they flinched a bit or whatever. And then you wait patiently, like Samina's father does. You this urine thing, I'm fascinated with it. Turpentine. Can you tell me more? I don't want to know, by the way. But but if I brought up the conversation, it would be because you're not preaching it on me. You're not making me feel like I need it. Mm-hmm. And now it's interesting. If there's an addiction for your sales success, you've already started to share it. Shit happened in your past, bad shit. And as a result, somehow you came to a core belief that there's something wrong with me, trying to figure out what it is. That was the problem, trying to figure out what it is. The more you try to figure out what the problem is or why you have it, the more you fuck yourself up. But the bottom line is, it's this whole lack thing. I need to fix myself. And that's why you couldn't even hear me, because you're trying to fix me. And when you have those types of people as customers, and I've had them for years, you get drama, you get crisis, you get bullshit happens, when you're fixing people, when your entire market, the entire market you're serving is, people that think there's something wrong with them and they know it and they need fixing. And
that's because that's the space that I was in.
yeah, and still are. It showed up right here when you went breatharian, right in there, like that you couldn't be present with it because you still have this filter
That's my
of
subconscious.
fixing.
That's my subconscious
fixing.
programming because I'm
That's why
trying to
you're
fix
wrestling.
myself.
Like, here's the thing. You even make yourself wrong, and I'm not trying to change your views on it. Please hear me here. I understand how attached you are to your viewpoints about, this pattern you run on Fridays and weekends that you think you're a bad person because, you're not there for whatever, your family, whatever. And what if you're wrong? Let me tell you about Sarah, who came to see me. She came to see me. She knew me for years because I have a reputation in Toronto as being crazy Scott, last guy. Like she'd often say, I only come to see you when I'm really, really fucked. So I'll see her once every 5 years. I haven't seen her for years, maybe never see her again. She's doing so good. And she said, I don't like seeing you because I know when I step in there, you're going to tell me the truth. And I don't want to know the truth, right? I don't, the denial serves me. But when I'm really fucked, I come to you. So she starts, so what's going on, Sarah? And I'm cutting myself. And so I see all this guilt. So I know the problem is the guilt, not the cutting. But I listen because she thinks it's the cutting. So, I'm listening to her and she says, so why are you here now? I mean, you've been cutting for 10 years. She says, because I now have cut myself everywhere. There's no more spots I can cut without getting caught. Like she's been able to hide it, as she's been board of directors for my All Addictions Anonymous. Everybody in Cocaine Anonymous loves Sarah, and so it's like, okay, so then I said something like this. I mean, it was just like, can you tell me, like, what's so wrong with cutting? Isn't it true that your mind races and it's beating, it's so negative, and you cut yourself, and then it's a relief. She goes, how'd you know that? How'd you know that's exactly what happens? Because that's how all addictions work. They're good. They're serving a purpose. It's giving you a sense of relief. It's shutting up your mind, right? That was telling you to kill yourself before.
Eating does that.
Right? Yeah, she was anorexic. I helped her. She was anorexic and I was seeing her in the hospital. And she hated herself for how she was angry and violent with her mother and daughter. And I had an intervention, so to speak, with the family. And I said, you know what? Your mother and your daughter, right? I want you to know something. They love you so much that they want you to keep abusing them like you are. Because at least now you're abusing outside and you're not going to die anymore. It was huge for her to see that she's making progress. And then her parent and the mother and daughter just nod their head. Yeah, we love you that much. If you have to hurt us, we'll take it because we want you to live. And so the same thing happened, years later, when she comes to see me about the cutting. I said, so what's wrong with cutting? Who told you there's anything wrong with that? You've got tattoos on you. You don't smoke crack anymore. You're not a whore. You're not a prostitute anymore. Like, you've made so much progress. And I think cutting is like a very creative way, like a tattoo. Like, what's wrong with cutting? And I offered to her, if you don't believe me, I want you to cut yourself right now in front of me and watch my eyes. So you see, I'm not kidding here. I do not understand. That's your fucking body and you have a right to do whatever you want. If you want to kill yourself, you can do it right here. We're not recording. I respect that choice. I said, I think what the real issue is, you have guilt because you got a secret with the people you love, your mother and daughter. Go home and tell them. That's all you're going to do. But do not stop cutting. You hear me? She goes home. 3 months later, she calls me to say, Scott, it just occurred to me. I never told you this because I didn't even realize how profound it was. Not only when I went home, I told my mother and daughter what I was doing. I stopped cutting myself. And I stopped smoking too. Because I realized I was doing what you said, Scott. When you make yourself wrong for the behavior, you continue doing the behavior. I was a porn addict and a crazy sex addict forever. That was my core addiction. 8 times a day masturbation, like couldn't stop it. And all of a sudden, I don't have that addiction anymore. Now I don't believe I'm going to hell when I masturbate, by the way. It's not just that simple. I don't make it wrong. If I masturbate, I masturbate. It's funny. I don't have much of a desire anymore because I don't make it wrong. So you're making yourself wrong for whatever you're doing. You're right. Right? And that's the problem. Whether you eat or you don't, that's your business. I have no opinion on that. But I do know, just as much as you do know, which is why I said do the Abraham Hicks stuff with, to remind you of what you already know. That whatever you focus on, the way law of attraction works, just reminding you of what you know. When you say, I want this thing, the universe conspires to bring it to you. When you say, I don't want this thing, the universe conspires to bring it to you. So the problem you need to work on is the same one as Sarah. Making whatever you're doing wrong.
It's not wrong to eat.
Right. Now, if you can't do it, then you have an addiction. And my definition of addiction, like I now know that this thing that I'm doing is the thing that is hurting me and my family, so I'm going to stop it. And then you keep doing it. Well, why do you keep doing it? The fact is, most addicts, for reasons yet obscure, have lost the power of choice in their behavior. Their so-called willpower works some of the time, so it seems, but they can't bring it to their force, to their memory, the consciousness, sufficient force, memory, suffer humiliation, blah, 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 blah. So, in other words, you can't remember Abraham Hicks when you're in the pattern, right? Like on the weekends.
Oh, I'm thinking about food.
We'll see.
Thinking about getting the food.
Well, we don't know, because now that you've been given another thing to look at, another viewpoint, let's see what happens. Maybe the weekend happens and you don't make yourself wrong at all. Okay, I guess there wasn't addiction at all. It was just you didn't know. But if you know this now, and then you keep running that pattern, it's like, what am I doing to myself? What's going on here? I know this shit. That's why I listened for years. I think probably 6 hours of Abraham Hicks every day in my sleep.
And I listen
in my sleep.
And I listen to
but you know why I do it every day for years?
Well,
you know why I do it? Because my mind, no matter how much I know the law of attraction stuff, and I'm totally aligned with it. I don't see any evidence to refute it. My mind still will sometimes like blame.
So I got to stay on those videos. I got to stay on that thought pattern. I got to stay on those I am statements. I got to stay on those goals. I got to stay on that stuff all the time. Like constantly be putting that stuff, feeding my mind with that stuff. Constantly feeding my mind with positive, supporting, energy lifting, correct self-focusing items. Else I fall back into my subconscious program.
And when we do, we don't know what's happening a lot of times. Like now I'm really fast at it, right? And I'm blessed because everything that I did for Samina actually has turned its way back around on me, that she can now catch me on my mind. Like if I'm starting to have a conversation or say anything that's negative, she can now catch it and just change the topic on me. And I know exactly why she does it, because I've been doing that with her for years. So it does become easier when you have someone else that's safe, that isn't doing it to fix you, that's just redirecting the conversation because you've told Samina that I don't want to go into, more than 67 seconds of a negative pattern, because I might be addicted to that pattern for the whole day. But it's interesting. He says, so now I need to do this, need to do this, need to do this, need to do that, right? I got to need, right? What if that's your addiction trying to fix itself again? I'm not saying that it is. I really don't know, but it's interesting, right? I listen to the Abraham Hicks stuff and go to sleep to it. I enjoy it. I love it. It's preventative maintenance for me. I think it's the best thing I can do. Two things if I want to make lots of money and be really free and happy. Jog, drink water, Abraham Hicks.
Yeah.
So what if there was nothing wrong with this weekend? What if that's the game you play this weekend? Just for fun. You're not going to fix this pattern, but just for fun, you're going to notice, there I go, making myself wrong again. Every time you focus on what's wrong with having a cigarette, I used to smoke 4 packs a day. for years. You feel so bad and guilty, you have another one. To the degree that you keep making what you're doing wrong, you are creating the addiction every weekend. So what if for now, it's once again just about awareness? Like, I'm not, just be aware this weekend. Don't even have it like, I got to stop this. Abraham also says when you can't stop it. You got to redirect, go in a different direction. So at least for right now, right? Because if you're trying to stop something, you're giving it power. So what if
and the breath
your
area and
assignment, which you take it, you wish to take it, is notice this weekend. I often tell people to do this. Please, please keep doing your addiction. Are you hearing me? I even told the kids to. I'm not asking you to stop your freaking things that you think are a problem, kids. I can't actually tell you not, to keep doing them because we're in a school. But are you hearing me, kids? This program that I created, the Power of Choice, Power Habits program, whatever, is not about talking about your addictions. But that's why you came here. How about we don't talk about it and you drink some water, you do this or whatever you've said you're going to do. We just give it no energy. So I'm telling you, try this just for this week because you've had this pattern for years, right? Beating yourself up with guilt because of the weekend. What if you just notice that this weekend? Keep doing it though. Don't put on the added pressure for this weekend that you even have to do anything about it. I'm not telling you to not cut yourself, Sarah. Are you hearing me? In fact, I want you to cut yourself because it's what's working. When you're thinking about how much you hate the world and they're all coming to get you and they're freaking cutting you actually stops the momentum, and the physical pain is a small price to pay for what the torment in your mind. I love this addiction. I think I was telling her, keep cutting. Just go tell your parents that you're doing it, your mother and your daughter, the only people you have guilt about. See what happens. The issue is not what you're doing, it's the guilt. What do you think could be possible? And are you aligned? You can say, no, I love it if you, I don't think I can do that. I have to fix it. But from what I said, do you like the idea of me saying this weekend, notice the degree by which your mind is making yourself wrong. Your mind is your mind is judging everything you're doing now, and it goes into right. And I'm saying, I would be more happy with you working on not making yourself wrong this weekend, rather than I got to stop doing this. Which is why the 12 steps work for those who do it. It's a 12-step program. There's only one step where you talk about your problem. Step 1, are you fucked? That's how I talk to a drug addict. Yeah, man, how'd you know? Okay. Got it. The step is, admitted we were powerless over addiction and their lives had become unmanageable. The drug addict comes for the first time. Are you fucked, bro? Yeah, man. If he says anything other than that, then I'm not going to use this book. But if he says, I'm so fucked, how'd you know? Great. Then we can go on to the rest of the steps, which have nothing to do with your addiction, other than when you recover, that you, during your spare time, part-time, like why you're here, right? Not paying me, that you're willing to, your spare time, to maybe help others find a solution to their problem.
That's your give back.
It's the give back to myself, because the book also says strenuous work, one addict with another, was vital if you wanted permanent recovery. I don't want what I saw in treatment. Go to treatment.
So
3 years later, you're in another treatment.
You always keep someone that you're counseling.
That's Samina. That's how I justified Samina. Like, people think I'm this hero. Yes, it may look that way, but I just thought, I think God just wants me to help this person be more patient with her and not take on any new people. And it's not about the numbers right now. It's about this one life. This one life matters. And maybe I can just trust God that if I just do what, I got to do to support this one life, maybe she'll make a bigger impact on the planet than I ever would.
Yes.
This book also says, tell the newcomer that he's probably doing more for you than you're doing for him. I'm like, what? What? I can't stop using. You're helping me, right? But you would think that I'm doing more for you. But the book says, tell the new man that he's probably doing more for you than you're doing for him. Took me years to figure out that that statement was true. That was the only part of the book I didn't get it. It just, I couldn't argue it because everything else I agreed with. But now I get it. See, when the drug addict comes to see me, if there's nothing that I can possibly do that will help me stay sober than helping another person learn how to stay sober, right? Whatever you want for yourself, cause it for another. That's step 12. That's 12-12. I wanted permanent recovery. I didn't want to be another statistic. Go to treatment and you will see me there again 5 years from now, even though I'm certain I'll never be there. I'm like, I want this permanent recovery thing. So
Yes.
it's not a give back. It's not a pay it forward. I'm doing this for me. I'm not going to take advantage of your codependency and your neediness as a needy person. And now you're going to people please me. Now you're going to not be true to yourself because you think I might fire you since you're not paying me anything. Mm-hmm. Right? This is thank you, bro, for allowing me to have immunity over my addictions for, another day.
Yes.
Because you're given the opportunity to practice the one step that is guaranteed to keep me sober. What you do after you leave here, I have no idea. All I know is you gave me that opportunity. You gave me that blessing. I've never heard a story in all my years of working with addicts of a person relapsing as they were about to go help another person through this book for free. I've never heard those stories. They don't exist. I mean, I'm sure they exist. Let me be responsible, but I've never heard those stories. This weekend, allow yourself to just do and be what you normally do. No resistance. If anything, the only thing you try to do is make yourself wrong less, or not even. You can't. Just noticing it. That's how you do it. Just note. Oh, there it goes again. Oh, there it goes. Oh, fuck, what an asshole. There I go again. Treat that like a fuck. I laugh at. I'm proud to say, I'm an asshole. Like I'm an asshole. I got anger issues. But people think that's weird. That I love that about me. You know why I love it about me? Because it's a lot of progress from the guy that used to put women in the hospital. I got anger issues. It's interesting. I admit it. It doesn't come up often. It comes up if you fuck with Samina. That's about it right now. You fuck with my family, yeah, or someone, or if I happen to be right here in front and somebody does something right in front of me to some innocent person, I will stand up and I will do something about it. I don't take my anger to hurt people anymore, Anyway, but if I didn't just be okay with it, yeah, I got a little extra weight. Yeah, I'm not a breatharian. Yeah, I got some shit going on. Yeah, I mean, it gives it less power. And now I have a choice. I don't act in anger as often.
That's what breatharian does for me. Breatharian for me gives me choice, right? I mean, it's about food freedom. It's that I can eat if I want to eat, but I don't have to eat. I can choose to not eat.